Today is Friday, October the 15th. This is world history. Today we're going to start the Renaissance. The Renaissance is going to start in the 14th century. That would be the, 15th century. That would be the 1400s. The Catholic Church is in turmoil. We have two popes, one who lives in Rome and one who lives in France. The Catholic Church is hopelessly divided. In Italy, each of the various city-states are going to make a great deal of money in their trading with the Muslims in the Mediterranean Sea. Now, in the city of Venice, one family, the Polos, are going to take a trip from Venice to China and back. They're going to create what is still today called the Silk Road. Now, here is a biography of Marco Polo. With the wealth and money, many of the leaders of the Italian city-states began to invest their money in art, in sculpture, in buildings. Now, the Italian word for this is Renaissance. It's very close to the French word, which is Renaissance. Whether you wish, no matter which way you call it, it is a time of rebirth of the arts. Now, probably one of the most famous people to come out of the Renaissance was Leonardo da Vinci. Da Vinci was an artist, he was an inventor, he was an innovator. Another Renaissance painter would be that of Michelangelo. Now, Michelangelo will be asked to paint the newly built Sistine Chapel that is right off St. Peter's Cathedral. The chapel is the private domain of the Pope, and soon it would be a gathering place for the newly elected cardinals. Michelangelo is also going to sculpt David. Now, he did this for a wealthy family in the city of Florence, and it is considered one of the greatest sculptures known to man. If you were to go into St. Peter's Church in Rome, you would see another Michelangelo sculpture. This is the Pietà. The Pietà is Mary holding the dead Jesus in her arms. But Da Vinci and Michelangelo were not the only Renaissance painters and artists and sculptors. There was also Raphael. Raphael is going to paint the Academy. This is in a private chapel off of the Sistine Chapel. This is where the Pope many times will conduct masses for the invited. Here's a short biography on Raphael and the Renaissance painters. Now, we need to create a project, and I'm going to ask each of you to pick a name of an individual out of the envelope. Now, this individual might be a Renaissance painter, might be a Renaissance sculptor, might be a Renaissance architect. Some of them are from Italy, others of them are from other countries in Europe. Now, the Renaissance is going to be seen in architecture. It is the architecture of the Renaissance that is also going to be seen in the building of churches and other buildings. The Renaissance is going to be evident in most of the duchies of the Germanic area. The Holy Roman Emperor is going to invest heavily into that of the Renaissance. We'll also see great artwork in France, in the areas when what is now Holland, even in Great Britain and Spain. One of the first to benefit from the Renaissance, this awakening, was science in general. Now, the Greeks had been the first to write down about science, but a great deal of their science was lost during the Dark Ages. The Greeks had used reasoning to answer the various questions of science. And it was the Greeks who came up with the four elements of the earth: earth, air, fire, and water. Now, this idea of the Greeks will be passed on to the Romans. And of course, the Romans get this because they use Greek tutors as their teachers. Well, when the Dark Ages began, many times the monasteries would take some of these Greek ideas and write them down into books. By the time of the Renaissance, the principles of Aristotle had been taught by the church. They're going to come under the attack of a variety of people. Is the church right in the four elements? Now, one of the groups that led the charge that this was wrong were those people who were called Protestants. We will learn a little bit later on in this lesson that there were those who did not believe that the authority of the Roman Catholic Church was supreme. They protest this idea. These became known as Protestants. The Protestant Reformation will begin to break up the Catholic Church. There are others in the church and its teachings because they attack the church because it lacks a scientific method. Well, let's look at one of these. Here is a monk in the Roman Catholic Church by the name of Nicholas Copernicus. Now, Copernicus was asked by the Pope to come up with a calendar that would accurately tell when Easter should be each year after year. Well, at the time, the church used the Julian calendar, which followed the movements of the sun. Now, the common practice was to place the earth at the center of the universe and look at the moon and the moon and the sun, the stars and all the planets revolve around the earth. This is what we sometimes call geocentric. The earth was static and all the planets moved around the earth. It was said that everything was pushed by angels on crystal spears. Now, Copernicus did not believe in this. And Copernicus discovered that when he put the sun at the center of the universe, that the calendar worked perfectly. Now, this here is a short biography on Copernicus. Copernicus is going to name the new calendar in honor of the Pope. He is going to call it the Gregorian calendar. But Copernicus had a problem. He could not prove that his theory was right. Now, the proof of his theory we will place into our notes on Monday.